have to account for that loss.
Right.
So then we have to raise taxes. So I mean, there, you know, listen, I don't want in any way to hurt anyone, and Portnoy has already explained to us in situations where people just can't pay, they will inform us about that. And then we can decide as a borough to how we will approach it. But any individual who approaches after they read the advertisement in the paper, we've worked with and put them on a schedule. However, there's people that repeatedly for 10, 15 years just refuse to pay trash. Because in a lot of cases they said, it should be in my taxes. Every other community has it in their taxes. So I don't feel it's right that you charge me that. Again, I mean, you can't change people's minds about that. However, we're addressing a problem that's been a problem for almost 20 years.
Well, I know if you don't pay your water and sewer bill,
Yeah, but
it's
that-
match
there's
the
a-
water.
yeah, but there's a
Can't
cutoff.
shut off garbage.
We shut off the water.
Can't shut off garbage. Like Vic said, somebody will take it to their neighbors and just say, hey, I'll put it out and you will split the cost.
Why couldn't you put an ordinance out there and fine
There is an ordinance.
them? Right.
There is an ordinance.
So are we good
You
with,
can't collect
I
on
think
it.
we're on page 2, yeah, right?
should we move on to even 3, that's more revenues?
Can I make a suggestion before we go to page 2?
Sure.
In this miscellaneous area, it talks about your insurances and stuff like that, and where else you would put it. We have people that are on, and I don't know how many, this insurance where they reimburse us back if they stay on our insurance. It was put on with the ASPE thing, okay?
Is that the code?
How do we know that gets reimbursed back in? I mean, they obviously get billed a voucher. So do we have a separate, in the revenue line shown, that gets paid back to us? Like, how do you record that?
The Cobra payments, I don't know that.
Excuse me, you got to give me a line here.
No, I don't have a line. I'm just
She's
saying,
saying she doesn't see it.
why don't we have one in there to show that as a separate revenue coming in, that we know that we're getting paid back? You could-
Well, there's one down here that says insurance reimbursements. It's the second to last
Yeah.
line.
And this year we brought in 8,846, and we only budgeted 3,532.
Okay, now those reimbursements, that's from, so I'm saying, how do we know that? Is that what that's from, or?
Well,
There's other
from any
reimbursements
type
you
of
get?
insurances,
We have a workers' comp reimbursement on the next page.
Now, this would just be for the people that stayed on the COBRA. They allowed to have.
well, that money was allocated and put in a budget line in the back. We only have one left, and actually, when we get to that one area, you'll see we knocked that down dramatically because there's only one person left on that.
On Cobra?
On
Yes.
COBRA, you're saying there's a separate line for that in the back?
Well, it's its own, that money has to be allocated into its own account for them retirees, for
Is that expense
insurance
or
that we
revenue?
Well,
pay.
that's at 350 you're talking about that we give them between 60 and 65,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
That's different. Okay, so if they stay on insurance, that's towards it, but if they pay any difference, how do we know that gets paid back? You said Tom comes in and brings a check in every month. So how do we know that's reported back?
Well, I guess what we could do is,
How do you define that?
actually, you can define that, I mean, we have everything reported. It doesn't show that type of detail on a budget. I mean, if you want that information, I'll provide it for you, however, it doesn't show up line items for each individual who pays back. I don't know who authorized that, but
Well, the reason I'm saying is because that you would have to keep a track on that, because as people retire and you have more, well, you could go down 5 years down the road, who's gonna know whether it was actually, we're paying out for them to keep it on there, but who's gonna track that it's actually, their portion's being brought back in to stay on it? You know what I'm saying?
well, I imagine there is. I mean, I would say that would be
That's
something that we could discuss on another issue.
Which have notes come in, it's a revenue.
Right.
'Cause we're
It's
doing
just
now-
not
Well,
something.
no, it's a
that's detailed
reimbursement.
on
Right,
Your budget.
right,
So it should balance out.
Yeah, wash,
Yeah.
yeah, it should show.
And actually, when George gets here, he has line items in his that when he provides a service, he gets reimbursed for it. So it really balances out, and this year, we're gonna take it away out of his budget on his suggestion.
go on to expenses now. Page 4. Mostly salaries from the beginning. We had a bump in codification of ordinances. Pretty significant bump.
Keeping the assistant manager salary?
Well, that was, if you look at the following year, that was at 10,000, 20,000. It's down to 10.
But we're still keeping it.
Why do we need it?
Well,
We were told last year when we talked about this, that it wouldn't be necessary, it's only gonna last for a couple of
well,
months.
and again,
At the end of the year, we're gonna-
I would ask that we keep that line in there, only because when I'm not here,
This is a personnel issue. If we're gonna talk about salaries, I think we do it
Behind closed doors.
in closed doors.
okay, just one of my
We come out
comments is
and then
that,
decide what we've done, but if you wanna talk about who should get paid, who should not get paid, as much as they should get paid, I don't think we do that out here.
Do we wanna go back there now?
Not me, I don't particularly care what we do. If you wanna talk about salaries, then we go back into session. And you talk about who's doing what, who's getting paid what. That's a different subject.
I lost my codification. So line 301. Right about the middle of the page, a little above. Codification of ordinances. We've been running at 2,000, we're jumping to 4,500.
Why is that?
Is that going up?
We have more ordinances?
well,
Codified?
it's, again, it's based off of the actuals and broken down. We just, in talking with my staff, we felt that there could be an increase this year on that.
There was a question raised about them not being updated. So was it, were
That's
they,
why we,
Okay, that makes sense.
so we're back up on how long?
Well-
Did Tom ever update them?
well, we didn't have enough funding for that, so we're
Now we're-
adding more, I mean, calling it as an expense so we could get some of them done.
That makes sense.
There's an awful lot of ordinances.
I think we're only at 2014.
On what was put online? Is what you're saying?
What's
No,
the
that was
codification?
added actually in the book form that they do for us.
Mhm.
Not too much out of the ordinary on 4. Postage is down.
Well, yeah, that has a, that's part of sanitation,
Okay.
reasons for sanitation.
Well, the price of stamps went
You bought Forever stamps 2 years ago, though, you're in good shape. Well, I think they just went down.
Is that wrong?
We have a
Volume
meter,
down.
though.
No, it did go down.
Yeah.
We have a meter.
Nothing budgeted for landmark towns?
No,
I think we have a budget for that, do we?
Yeah. We did in 14, 15, and 16.
that would be
That's it. How much is that?
7,500. And also Morrisville, I felt that that was a decision should be left up to the council.
You'll look at
So you have nothing in there, Mark?
Oh, no, I have, well, I have
It's a
funds
line.
that I can pull it from.
Bristol has already dropped out, correct?
Yeah, you're already dropping down too.
Bristol Borough?
Yeah, you're already.
And lately, I was just taking this job, and I have to honestly say that, we can do a lot of things for a lot of different
everybody's dropping out of it, I don't know what benefits us to stay in.
New Hope's the only one, and I know it's gonna be staying in, New Hope and us, we don't know, yeah,
I think, I mean, just,
yeah.
if I can throw in my 2 cents, it's one of the few things that we do that brings us attention that isn't solely Morrisville focused. It brings us to the attention of the other river towns, it puts us in their minds to want to work with us, and I think they do a lot for the community. I think they didn't, I don't think they took it for 2015, so, I think that we have bits of benefit, so that's just my.
Is it still a benefit if it's two towns though? Like, what does landmark towns do if their funding's cut in half?
I don't know, I've never.
I'm
I
just
need to ask that
concerned,
question.
before we even make a decision, what does landmark towns do at half hour?
Right, do you feel you're getting your money's
Right.
worth?
Right,
Comes down to.
Well, I think it's more or less of bonding with the other communities
The other
to,
community.
as a whole,
They
to,
do a community.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Canal Fest. But we may have enough knowledge now in town to,
Bristol does their own canal thing, right?
the one thing we don't have is boats. And I think that was huge when they had the boats in the canal. Right. And who knows if we'll have the water next year.
You have to work on a lock or something, changes every year.
I know that's something I'm up in the air about. I'd like to stay in, but
I don't know where it's benefited us.
that's at
but
50%
I-
power.
Money in the last few years.
well, that's something we could decide on. Like I said, that I think that, you know, we don't have to decide that tonight. You can think about it and then get back to me, and then, like I said, I can allocate, you know, I
But we
can
don't
pick
have anything
1,000
allocated at this point.
at this point.
Oh, we have nothing allocated.
Correct.
What number was it?
It's 671 on page 5.
I'm gonna highlight this.
Yeah,
Is there any way we could find out from them who's staying in the program?
Going down the rest of them quick.
The majority of our expenditures are something that we really, I mean, that's where it comes to. It's like we can't do anything about it because we have to have it. And it's increases every year, and, you know, it's just amazing the COLAs that are added on to our expenditures. I mean, we've had our insurances, salaries, the electric, everything. It's just,
What is their current rate for electricity?
oh, I'm not sure.
I know the EMA, I think, I talked to John, he's paying 105 cents per kilowatt in general to run the facility down to sewage treatment.
How much does it do with the legal advertisements in the Courier compared to Trenton?
It's like, I'm just saying, it's like $75 compared to 25.
What, Matt?
So when you do,
It is a lot more than that.
you know, when we,
Well, that's why they choose that paper.
when we set the, all the meetings up throughout the year and you do your one big publication, I mean, you have, majority of people get the Courier Times in their paper.
Well, if that's what you would request, that we put that in the Courier Times, but when we ever do a resolution or ordinance and we have to advertise it for a meeting, it's cheaper to go with the Trenton paper.
What do you do to Trenton papers?
I guess that's all that's left.
Do we advertise all that stuff on the website?
Yeah, majority.
As long as it's there.
But
Right.
by law, we have to
Well,
advertise.
so once newspapers start falling.
They are falling, but,
Oh, yeah, once-
but
once-
the paper,
Courier
the
Times.
newspaper
That's why I brought
lobby
it up.
is
I
the
saw
one,
that
the newspaper
the
lobby is
Trentonian
really, really
is
strong in Harrisburg, really
in,
strong.
That's when you're.
Dire Straits.
Newspapers in Dire Straits.
Yeah,
Just the
because they do
readership
everything
is still
online.
wrong.
You can still get the paper right online.
Look at the millennia, they don't even look at the paper.
I know.
At this point, well,
Newspaper.
just totally, at this their paper's news money producing an actual newspaper.
Yeah.
The bulk of their news is electronic, is distributed electronically, that's been watched as subscription based. But they need the papers to go out, whether they're sold or not, to keep their numbers up, to be able to charge you advertising.
Well, the advertising.
Yeah,
The circulation is based on papers out there, not that they're sold.
right.
So a lot of newspapers will drop them off in the hotel lobby here.
Yeah.
Here's 40 more on the streets, that's more than I've sold in 2 weeks.
The, 710, the, CC, it's closed circuit TV, I'm assuming it's this here that we have in the room,
Yes.
right? You spent nothing out of that, why are we still staying that high, can you lower that?
Which one?
Line 708 and 710.
708 and 7.
Yeah, operations and maintenance. That's all been put in, we put it in 2016.
I believe that's not just in
Well, we
this
had
room, though, that's
several,
around.
even though it does, I don't know why that's not included in the actual, but I know this year we had it serviced.
Okay, so. we
So I don't know if they did it under the,
Page 5.
the,
There's no.
JCI contractor, but I know that they were up here repairing things.
So they may have used that, we don't know?
We didn't use that budget line, but we did have maintenance to that system. But they must have taken it out of, another expenditure line.
And that would cover new cameras if we were to put them in, I would imagine.
Well, again, each budget line will go back to zero at the end of the year. We'd have to allocate that in its own fund if we wanted to roll it over every year. So, I mean, in case, just for instance, a camera would break, I don't know how much that would cost.
Gotcha. So it makes sense to put some in for.
I mean, I went through every line pretty tight to try to cut it down as best I could.
Why are these contingency reserves, why did they jump up so much?
If you can, that's the best place to put stuff.
And I believe that, you know,
If you break 2 CCTV cameras.
I mean, so far you guys been good, so. Just, you know, I had to allocate money somewhere to make sure that if there was things added, that we had a small resource to go to instead
And
of,
if we do vote to get into landmark towns,
or,
there's a little bit of
you know,
wiggle.
the senior center.
Is there money in this budget for the senior center?
No, we didn't allocate none, but like I said, I have money in the contingency funds and miscellaneous, not a lot, but enough.
1100?
What, who,
What?
what's that? 3,000.
Oh, it's three.
Never heard anything about it either.
What, did we give it to them?
Yes.
And they just.
The electric bill, is that just the electric?
What page are you on?
Same on page 5 down the bottom, from the property expenses. The,
Municipal
line
building electric?
008, yeah.
Yep.
That's a huge jump.
And the
Does that
telephone, why
include the
is it
gas
high?
or heating, is it all in the same bill line? It goes all together. It's all in one bill.
Isn't that where our savings supposed to be?
Because there's no.
Telephone.
No, that's a different line. That's in the street lighting fund. The telephone poles. This is just for the building.
But we had all that changed over, we had all that energy stuff put in. I mean, we're not seeing savings from it?
We actually spent 3,000 this year. And, you know, again, you'd want some leeway in case rates go up or,
And we've got a lot more power here now with all the cameras and.
But they use very little energy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
but that's not a big, you know,
Well, why wouldn't you go out and look for a?
you can't really go, hold on, I mean, you can't really just go by the numbers
It's
that
3,855 and we budgeted 3,000.
5,200 for a year.
So we used
It's
almost
a big
4,000
building,
to begin.
yes.
And the year, this is only at the 3/4 mark of the year.
It's not cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. No heat, gas, it's gonna use it.
Dropping down building repairs.
tree over, we saw them.
Okay, he's gone.
Maintenance.
Stuff actually.
You figure we're in good shape?
Yeah, done gone.
Yeah, but I did put a little extra in,
I see there's
Insurances?
the outside tree maintenance,
Where you at, what page?
We're on
page 6.
Oh,
Top part,
Top part.
13, or no, 14.
14. And then you have tree maintenance,
yeah.
outside tree maintenance. and
Well,
tree
I
maintenance.
used all the other tree lines, and that's the one line I tried to,
What page, we know what line?
but we still have,
Six.
like $6,000 that's gonna come out of that fund, that trees that we just, maybe more than that.
Why are you keeping it at 20?
Well, because we had I would say, as of March 1st, we had where people just calling, saying things about trees, and, our insurance company and how we're insured says that if we know about it and we don't do anything about it, then we can be liable.
Yeah, well,
So
then
that
the trees over
that
the
word
street.
got around, and next thing you know, we were spending probably $30,000 on
Gotcha.
outside tree maintenance.
We don't spend.
That's only one line. I mean,
Yeah, but wait a
that's,
second, if the tree was alive, okay, even if it was a gross tree, it came down in the house, it's the homeowner's insurance, not the borough.
Yeah, but when the tree
But if the
dies,
tree is
it's
dead, it has no vegetation.
well, that's a different scenario.
And you have to get it down.
That's what I'm saying, if the tree was dead, you have to cut it down, but if we don't know about it, we don't have to cut it down. Plus two, if you notice, a lot of these trees,
Over the road.
Probably
well, if they're
probably
leaning,
15,
like we had one tree a couple months ago that was leaning towards the person's house, and there was dead areas on the tree, so, and the other thing we have to keep in mind is we have a lot of ash trees in this town, and we have this
Ash-
beetle,
It's called an
and that is spreading all over Bucks County. Middletown Township just took out $300,000, not a bond, a loan to address that. So far,
I think
we've
the
been
only way to
lucky.
address it is take your ash trees down.
Well,
And then there's the trimming of the ones over the road.
yeah, correct.
Bob, what was the difference between the outside tree maintenance and the tree maintenance again?
Well, one's labor, that is a labor line.
Using our own
The
people.
bottom one, tree labor, that's for our guys who cut trees
Oh,
down.
yeah, but their lines 14 and 15 look very similar. One
Right.
just has outside, one is regular tree maintenance.
Right, 14.
Yeah, well, the tree maintenance, we could utilize it for borough workers, the outside tree maintenance is for
Oh,
companies
okay,
we
so
hire.
bringing in
So
contractors.
you
to
could take
out
the
trees.
tree maintenance if we need to use anything from the tree labor and we go over budget on that?
Yes,
Yeah, generally, we bring it up to a certain height, I think, and
Yeah,
then we
and
call another
we
company.
have to have one of them, what they call them, they use ropes or cranes. and-
We only have bucket trucks that go a certain height.
Yeah, our bucket truck, I think.
So should we skip over police until the chief
Yeah,
arrives?
chief will be here at 8:30.
Move to the bottom of page 7, planning and civil defense. Not much to see there.
Why not?
Two expenditure lines,
Why don't you worry about?
salaries and benefits. Moving on to sanitation, page 8.
What page are we on now?
Page 8.
What is this public works labor leaves maintenance dash?
That's
is that
actually
PPC?
gonna go into, that's why there's nothing taken out of there, is because we're at that season right now. That's where we use our old sanitation truck to go around and, collect leaves and branches.
I've seen them out there.
I've seen them.
I've seen it.
It's a fall thing,
And
so.
we weren't there as of September 30th.
Actually, it just started last week. So that will be gone by the end of the year. Well, majority of it. because we're gonna be putting it onto the tax bill.
Now, are you still keeping these sanitation office supplies, or is that going?
Well, we're gonna have probably 80 people that do not get tax bills. So we'll still have to send them out to them individuals. There's veterans of wars that don't pay taxes. Plus we have people that own their home outright. And, you know, they still pay taxes, but and there was about 85 of them that we have to still send notices to and supplies, just stamps and actually, and then we still have left we put 4,000 in postage only because of the, like it's, there's 4 mailings a year out of them 85 people. There is a large expense to that. I mean, I trimmed everything that I possibly could, believe me.
You cut down your contingency quite a bit, but upped your miscellaneous a little bit.
Well, again, I wanted to keep sanitation as low as possible.
Did you figure out how that's getting billed into the taxes?
How-
Is that what you're talking about, the sanitation part?
Yes, that's gonna go onto the tax bill.
Right.
So we're gonna, the tax collector gets a salary for that.
Right, but how,
And we use actually, it basically breaks down to it's 7,500, that's what,
There's a line for it, 145, but there's nothing there.
You know how Pendel does it, they put in a water municipal bill, they don't do through the taxes,
Yeah, that'd be good.
that's how they do it.
what do they do?
Put it in their water municipal, you don't pay, they put all that on, they don't do it through taxes, that's how they
I
do
think it
it.
makes more sense to tie it to taxes, though,
Yes.
because then if you shut off the water, you shut off the trash, and you've got Hanson now.
well, I don't think we wanna intermingle
I'm not.
that.
But they may not have an independent municipal authority,
They don't,
No, they don't.
I don't believe they have their own
but
water.
you would have to have an agreement with the municipal.
There aren't too many municipal
That's right.
authorities. Falls out.
So for talk census, it's
My-
up to us.
My question goes back to, yes, it's gonna be
And if I-
on the tax bill.
As a
A lot
fee.
of- Right, but a lot of people send their tax bill to their mortgage company, and the mortgage company will pay.
so how does it get escrowed to them, when they have to?
Well, their mortgage company will send them a notice of an escrow increase.
I just don't wanna see us fall back into the same thing where, yes, your taxes are getting, but you're not paying for the trash.
Well, that's why I think the whole concept of put it on the taxes, because they can't break it up.
So then they would have to put that extra $270.
And, no, not really, because even if when you escrow it, now you're paying it over a 12-month period instead of a 4-month payment. So you will have an increase in your escrow, however, the people that will be paying the trash now will be 389 divided by 12 instead of divided by 4. So it's less of an impact 4 times a year than it's. $24 a month, where it would be.
That they would have to escrow to the bank.
Yeah. I mean, but it's an advantage for other people too.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing to do. I asked about it a couple months ago.
So I don't see the tax collector's fund,
There's no money in there.
but you're saying it's about
It
7,500?
is 7,500.
So what is the fee per resident? Like, we're talking $2.60.
So she's getting paid?
She's being paid? So I thought like under collecting taxes under her term, it's like $1.30 and change. Can you actually do that?
What's that?
Give her more than what you actually,
Well, this is, she'd be charging us a fee,
right?
but she now has to, where we paid,
Right, right.
but we played, before we paid the postage and the materials, now we don't have to pay for any of that. So she's actually, what we're doing is giving her the one line item we had the 7,500 into and using that as her salary.
Right, but what's the breakdown for a house?
That's basically what other boroughs in Bucks County pay for theirs, the same size of a municipality as ours. Well, I mean, we can come up with some type of fee schedule. I mean, that's fine. I'm just saying that,
But there's no, you don't have any money in the tax collector sanitation salary, there's nothing in there.
145 on page 8.
Katie, you're killing me, I forgot her.
You didn't include that in the sanitation.
Oh, no, actually, no, I know what I did.
Well, I've had a bad day, folks, so I'm gonna take an early night.
Is everyone okay with tomorrow at 8:30?
I'm not, so I have an MMA meeting before that, I'm not gonna stick around 2 hours. So I thought we were breaking till next week, but now I hear that.
Well, I think
That's
what
the
we
week of
did is
Thanksgiving,
we
I'd like to
took-
get us wrapped up before then if we can.
We'll add that line, but I know that we allocated through a couple lines that we had in the sanitation line to pay for that.
So we'll be able to meet here tomorrow night and also on Thursday night.
That's fine.
Tomorrow's
Well, hang out as much as we can tonight. We're going over the
Wednesday.
Figure it out.
Is it in the sanitation
Yeah.
building expense?
Yes, that's where we go.
Well, you don't have anything in there.
Well, in that line item, but I know that we
Page 8,
allocated
145.
part of the contingency and the,
Is that why you had that bumped up?
yes. Well, I didn't,
What up?
Well, I thought you put extra in there.
In the
but the
contingency? No.
contingency.
Yeah.
Well, that wouldn't,
Contingency got bumped down.
Yeah.
I'll have to go through my notes again. I know that I allocated the funds for that.
Here's where it was,
John said it
7,500.
should be easy.
Sanitation billing expenses. But now he can,
How are we figuring her
sanitation
sanitation?
billing expenses.
Well, we just- that's why I just discussed that.
Just 7,500.
Well, that's what Annie and Bristol Borough makes, that's what individual in Quakertown makes, and her
For
municipality.
sanitation, she would be almost like a sub.
Yeah,
You can't bump up her salary. As a tax collector.
Yeah, you can't-
yeah, well, it's not really, I don't think
That's
it's,
why I brought that out.
Yeah, this is separate though, what he's saying is I think he's
It's
gonna pay out.
expenses more than salary.
Like
yeah, it is.
like a subcontract.
Because like I said, we had 7,500 allocated the year past just for postage. So that's the line that we took out, and that was the line I was gonna use for her salary.
So you're gonna,
However, we didn't add it back into this line.
so you're gonna correct that?
Yes,
All right.
and that might be why the difference in that.
So for 145, you're gonna put 7,500 in?
Yes. And since that line is there,
And that wouldn't have been there before.
I know, so I believe that, no, it was there before, it's just that I'm saying that I think that at one time, that's how it was done in the past.
I don't know if there's anything really in work.
Well, the streets expenses, that's just the capital reserve fund and windmill.
One
yeah,
is
skip right over it.
the 1 mil transferred to the capital reserve for the streets expense.
Well, that's where it goes into as a,
Heavy equipment.
and then that gets transferred into the capital reserve.
And we need that?
Well, I think everybody, I wasn't here when you decided to vote on that, but again, our equipment, our newest truck is actually almost going on 4 years old, so we are gonna have a time where we're gonna have to buy equipment again. And actually with the leaf pickup, hopefully in the future, we could actually buy a piece of equipment that will suck the leaves up and put it in there.
That's what our street
Because
sweeper
the
does.
street
It has a
sweeper
vacuum
does
pump.
vacuum on it.
Not enough for leaves. We can't even do it.
Not for like-
Do it.
Not for this time of year leaves. You probably saw it in the spring.
No, I saw them do it. It all happened.
That's what they
They
told us.
swept it all up and came up with a street sweeper. Oh, cool.
I didn't think that was capable of that.
That was the main reason we bought, was for the vacuum system.
That's what I thought.
That.
Besides, cleaning the shit.
You want to go street lighting on there?
You know what, it does take longer to pick it up though, because I see the units. I grew up in Morrisville, and you have a crew out there working all day, in fact, you bring in people in, you're working for the township.
So you're saying it's better with the sucker or not?
I think it's gonna cost you more probably to have you, it's more equipment, and you have to have the truck set up right to collect the whole back. I don't know.
And plus, I think that machine mulches it, so you get a lot more, and I think it's better for composting, and we pay less to haul it away. Because leaves actually bind together, and they,
I don't know if really grind them up. I never saw the inside of it.
just a suggestion, Todd, I'm not buying no leaf sucker here.
Right.
We'd asked you to give us a list of all the trucks we do have, you know, and ages and stuff, so we have an idea.
We have it available, because we have to turn that into our insurance company.
Yes, I'd like to see, because I mean, we haven't retired anything on it, all we can buy. That 10-yard truck was up on Jefferson, getting leaves put in it from my house. It's all the big truck we use for that. I don't know.
Well, we don't have the adequate equipment. That's how we do things here, because we can't afford the right equipment. And I think that in the long term, if we had the right equipment, and as little as we use it, it should last 20, 30 years. However, again, everything has an age limit. So, I mean, you gotta, I think that's why they put that capital reserve in there, is because equipment was dying, we had to put out a large amount of money to buy this new stuff that we have now, so we don't wanna go back to where we were
I
2 years
understand that, I
ago.
mean, we have liquid fuels can also be used for that, there's street funds can be
Only
used
a
for that
percentage.
also. Yeah, right, which is what they do, they usually take some from each of those funds in order to pay for something that big, 'cause that 10-yard was almost $200,000. So that's where you're gonna get all that from. All I'm saying is that we're adding to the insurances, maintenance, and we're keeping a lot of those old trucks. So as you're purchasing them, why are we keeping a lot of those, and what's
Well, since I've been here, we
cost
got
you
rid of
maintenance?
2 of the older vehicles. We really got nothing for them, because they were all rotted out and anything. I think the oldest piece of equipment we have is an old Suburban that we'd like to retire because it's just seen better days.
Why wouldn't the borough do like what the chief did with his police cars?
Lease them,
Yeah,
well,
I mean, that was a great thing that the police department did. I mean, you were able to get how many? Three cars, right, out of that. And then
So you
it's like, he's recycling them, and that was a great thing to do.
What happens with lease?
well, that's what, just with the chief, well, we're gonna go into the police budget, but that's a pretty large amount of money every year. Because we're leasing, we're gonna lease all the public works equipment all 1 year, every year, pay the same amount. That's what George does. He pays one amount, and then when them go get a car, he'll have the same amount in that line, and just keep doing it. But it's it's all
Right,
based off of,
because the police cars would replace on a regular cycle, they get high maintenance.
Are they replaced every year?
Mileage.
plus you'd be responsible for the damage to the
We-
vehicles.
We put in
3 years, right?
money into that, to make sure that there was money in there
Right.
to replace those cars on a regular
That's what I'm
basis.
saying, I mean, you know, every 3 years, the cars are getting recycled.
Well, but our one truck is already, the one Joey used to drive, is again going on 4 years old. That was Ronnie's truck.
What's the mileage on it now?
Sure.
I mean, it's like 2 square miles.
But it's constantly.
I'm not saying how long it's gonna last, I'm just saying that
I mean, even
in
the borough.
retrospect, leasing wouldn't be, I don't think it's,
You do
for
realize
public works would be a
every
good
hour
thing.
of engine item is 25 miles of
My
driving.
vehicle's on lease.
We
Oh,
actually-
Yours
sorry.
is a-
I'm sorry, I didn't understand, that's what I thought it was, I'm sorry.
They're leased to purchase, so we lease them for 3 years and we tell you for $1 at the end,
Then there are.
Okay.
and they're ours. So you can continuously put a set amount of money into the budget, and every 3 years I get 3 new vehicles, and I retire 3 old vehicles.
Right.
So we continually do that, and now you know what your expenses are based on, that $40,000 of the budget. And that'll continue on for, until we run out of money.
Well, how, like your fleet, what's the oldest vehicle on the fleet, go 6 years and then get rid of it?
The oldest vehicle I have right now is 2010.
All right,
And
6
they will go,
years.
next year, they will start to be, those 3 will go.
So 6, 7 years.
Well, we just started the program.
We just started the program, so we'll take, after this year, we'll have, next year, you'll have the oldest vehicle will be a fleet. And then at that point,
We're gonna jump back to 6. Regional,
Okay.
Six.
I was on 9, we hadn't gone into water yet, but I don't know, there's must be a change in water. If we take us to 11, but we're gonna jump back to 6 now with the chief with us. So we've got some cuts here.
My budget this year has been in very good shape, as it has been in past years. We went into this last quarter with a lot of money not being put in the right place for the insurances. All the insurances were not funded the way they were supposed to be. We funded them through other accounts to get them up to where they belong, and then I added on 10% going into 2017. Up till a couple weeks ago, we had approximately $200,000 left over, not spent in the police budget. I canceled training in 2 weeks for nighttime shooting that we've never done before. That I thought was a very important training, but due to the financial situation the borough is now in, I canceled the training. I'm very upset about that. First time I had to cancel any kind of training. The fire department is very well trained now. We have equipment that other departments don't even have. This is the first time since I've been here that we have no lawsuits. Since I started. Remember when I started, we had lawsuits. We continually worked on those lawsuits. We have none now. That being said, it has proven what we have started has worked. Training, the equipment, the body cameras. The complaints against police have gone down tremendously. When people come in, I now can say, let's look at the incident. People go, thank you very much, Chief, it was nice talking to you. And out the door they go. My officers, one of my officers, who was a very big critic, Billy Smith, has volunteered next year to use his clothing allowance to buy his own camera, because he thinks the program is so good. Our department's in good shape. We've done a lot of good things. The confidence of your community is back in your police department. somewhere besides this. You guys know I'm a very good steward of your money. I've proven that years, for the last 3 years.
But for 3 years in a row, at this time of the year, the manager comes over, and obviously it wasn't always Bob, as he's in here, and says the borough's having a financial hardship, you guys really gotta watch your expenditures. So it seems like the borough keeps using the police department to balance the budget at the end of the year. It's not, it's just, one time, it's just 3 years in a row.
Yeah. So we had to figure out how, and we talked about this last year. Ms. Smith last year came to me and said, sat right here, she sat right there and said, Chief, next year you gotta give us a budget blessing. How do we do this?